Like NPR. Welcome to the Gospel Truth.
Nice. I don't think our microphone.
Our mic is that sensitive.
Is
trust
it?
me. Yeah. Welcome to the Gospel Truth. I'm your host, Dean, and this is our evening edition.
Okay. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Gospel Truth.
I'm Dean.
And I'm Audrey, and this week we are celebrating the 29th Sunday of Ordinary Time.
29
Yes.
weeks
29 weeks.
of Ordinary Time.
Yeah.
Sundays?
29, yeah.
Something like
29 order, yeah.
Yeah.
We have about 6 episodes left in the liturgical year, and it's really wild to see how fast time has flown by. We should do an end of the year reflection or
We'll do
something
that.
like that.
Maybe a little post-year B reflection.
Yeah. But anyways, this week we really want to focus on this idea of falling into the trap of checking the boxes. Like, what are the boxes we need to check to get into heaven?
It's a trap.
Yeah. Yeah. And this idea of suffering and how we can maybe better position ourselves and better look at suffering and see suffering in a way that can benefit us in the end.
I don't like suffering. I'm
hard.
interested in what we're going to say about that.
Yeah, it is. Wait, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you wanted to continue going, if I said something wrong there.
No, I'm interested.
Okay, but before we do that, do you want to remind everyone what the Gospel Truth is?
Of course. So the Gospel Truth is all about Audrey and I sharing our thoughts about the faith, the word, happenings in the church. Hopefully by doing that, we can understand our own faith a little bit better, and maybe you, the viewers, can get something out of it as well.
Yep.
So here are this week's readings. First, from the book of Isaiah, the prophet. Isaiah is saying the Lord was pleased to crush him in infirmity. And it's like, oh, that doesn't sound really nice, that God is happy with our infirmity, our weakness, our suffering.
Old Testament God
But,
right
but, like Isaiah is like, wait a second. Because of his affliction, he shall see the light in fullness of days. Through his suffering, my servant shall justify many, and their guilt he shall bear. Talking about Jesus. Through Jesus' suffering, we all benefit. That's why we talk about suffering in this week. Okay?
Yeah.
So we move to the Psalm. Lord, let your mercy be on us as we place our trust in you. And kind of with that theme of suffering, like when we are feeling like we are suffering, we ask for God's mercy. We trust that God is doing what's best for us. Mm-hmm. Second reading from the book of Hebrews, from a letter of St. Paul to the Hebrews.
Nice.
That's my bad. We see here that St. Paul is saying, you know, Jesus, he can sympathize with us. And I love this quote here. We do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses. And why is that, St. Paul? The reason why is because he was similarly tested in every way. He became human for us. He understands what it means to be a human experiencing suffering.
Yeah.
Right? So don't think Jesus don't know about what it means to be a human and suffer through things, right? He had physical pain. He died a human death.
Yes.
For us.
And yeah.
And so the gospel here, this is kind of like a funny gospel when we were talking about it. So James and John, they come to Jesus and it's like, Jesus, can you do us a solid? Like, can you help us out here? Can you do what we ask of you? And Jesus is like, well, what do you want me to do for you? Mm-hmm. And they're like, in your glory, can one of us sit at your right hand and one of us sit at your left? Like straight up saying, like, can we just be with you? Like, can we be with you in heaven? Like, can just do us a solid.
Hook us up when you're up there.
And Jesus is like, well, you know, it's not really for me to do this. Like, to sit at my right or left hand is for those whom it has been prepared. Mm-hmm. Kind of cryptic message.
Yeah.
Right? And all the other apostles are like, are you serious? James and John? Like, what are you trying to... Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you asking him that? It says they became indignant.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Like,
it's like, hey, man, like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And then we see here at the end that Jesus is basically saying, look, if you want to be in glory, if you want to reach that pinnacle of what you're asking for, understand that whoever wishes to be great among you will be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first will be slave. Mm-hmm. Right? That Jesus is coming not to be served, but to serve. this idea that, again, if you want to try and elevate yourself, that's not like, it's not the way that you normally think about it, that you're going to have to go through a little bit of service and suffering in order to get what you actually want.
Yeah.
So I thought this was pretty funny gospel. So like, yeah, like chill out. Like that's not how it's going to work.
Yeah.
So yeah. So tell us what we got from this.
Yeah. Sorry, I wonder if other people think the same way we like imagine these conversations to be
like,
happening.
hey,
They're like, man,
what
like,
what's wrong
how
with
dare you ask him that and like try to like put yourself ahead of us? Like I thought we were a team.
Yeah.
We're like 12. We're the 12.
It's like we're gonna be the two on your right and left, right? Right, Jesus?
Yeah. But anyways, I think there are two things to cover, I think, in this week's reading. And the first part of it we want to kind of talk about is like how we constantly, like how, who was it again? Shoot, sorry. James and John. How we kind of fall into this trap similar to James and John, just like, what do we got to do? Like, you know, what are the boxes we need to check? How can we, like, can you save a spot for us?
Yeah.
You know, we're doing all this. We talked about it last week too. The one person, oh my gosh, I forgot his name. Isaac? No.
Oh, what?
Where someone was trying to be like, hey, I go to church, I do this, I check the boxes.
It was some rich man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, we, in our day-to-day, we fall into this trap of checking the boxes. If we check the boxes, we're good, right? And if we're good, we get to, like, be with Jesus.
Yeah.
And we're always trying to figure out, like if you've seen the show The Good Place.
It's a good show.
It's a really good show.
Do
really
recommend
it.
Yeah.
And so the premise of it is, like, the humans on Earth, for every good deed they get a certain amount of points. And the more points you get, the higher the chances you get into the good place.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because in our everyday lives, we're just like, oh, I did this, I was charitable, I did this, and we just want to do what it takes to get into the good place. We want to check the boxes. We want to just rack up points.
Yeah. And like, you notice that method of thinking, it diminishes the reason why we do what we do. Right?
Yeah.
If you're just trying to check the boxes and you're like, oh, I just want to get these points so that I can get some brownie points so I can get into heaven, it's kind of like, it cheapens it. It empties.
Yes, right.
It empties the purpose of your actions.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there is no, I don't think there is any point system for getting into heaven.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's not the way that Jesus is saying that we need to operate to be good.
Yeah, exactly. And it cheapens it, right? And we want to really make sure that when we do all these actions and we are doing good, we want to make sure that we are authentically and genuinely doing it because we want to follow in Jesus' footsteps and follow in his example and follow his calling to serve. Yes. Basically. He was put here on earth for a number of reasons, right? And they were able to witness in person, like, Jesus is like, he wasn't asking to be served, he was serving others. Yes. Right? And that was part of his calling. Yeah. So that's one thing, I think.
Yeah, and I think to transition us into helping us, or to kind of help us be better in terms of not just checking the boxes, one of the things that we can reflect on is asking why we do what we do.
Yeah, what is the why behind the what we do?
Like, what is the why behind our actions?
Yeah.
Right? So, understand that we're not just doing things for the sake of being able to fulfill some criteria or quota of points so that we can get into heaven, but rather we're doing this because, A, we want to follow in Jesus's footsteps. We want to be more like him.
Yeah.
And like, I always think about this whole idea that we are striving to be perfect even though we never will be.
Yeah.
But by following in his footsteps, by following his example, we can be more like him and be more genuinely good rather than just be checking off the boxes. Kind of good.
Exactly. And I don't know how to best put this, but like, not that it's like a requirement, but like, there's a little, like, spoiler alert, it's not just about like these optics of being charitable and stuff like that, right? Like, there's this suffering, or there's this like experience of suffering that we have to go through because Jesus went through it.
Exactly. Right. Part of following in Jesus's footsteps is also understanding that we too in our lives are going to have our own crosses to bear.
Yes, that's the best way to put it.
We are going to suffer. No one on this earth is immune from suffering.
Yeah.
We have all gone through moments in our lives where we have been tested. We have felt like we've had our crosses to bear. And it's like, oh, that is tough. This suffering is ridiculous. And maybe sometimes you're in the midst of it and you're asking why. Like,
Yeah.
why do I have to go through this?
Yes, yeah, exactly, right? And I mean, it's a common theme we bring up too, that like nothing good ever comes easy. And just want to preface this, like, we'll never understand why, why they're suffering, but we're just trying to like put ourselves in a better mindset and like think in a certain scope so that like we can truly maybe feel better about like, okay, there has to be a reason behind this.
Yeah,
right?
or maybe like looking at suffering in a different light.
Yeah, seeing it in a different light definitely can like help put things in more perspective. And again, like nothing comes easy, but like the idea that like, Jesus suffered so much for us,
Yes.
right?
He went through his passion for us. And that is like the ultimate example of suffering. He did it for us.
Yeah, and you want to like really think about like we were talking about like the why behind the what, but like maybe we take a beat to like when we go through hard times, like have we considered why we suffer maybe?
Yeah, or have we considered like what good we can get from this moment of suffering? And I think there was something that I remember hearing from a homily a while ago. And so I got to shout out Father Matthew Murray. He was at Holy Spirit a long time ago. I think he's the pastor of St. Isidore in Danville now. So
Yeah.
big shout to him, because I remember this message from your homily, from his homily. He mentioned that suffering is like the kiss of Jesus.
Yeah.
In the sense that because Jesus went through all of his suffering, anytime we suffer, we are sort of becoming like we are getting or like getting this bridge to Jesus, because we're empathizing with him in our own way.
Yeah, yeah.
Like gosh, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like we're kind of connecting with Jesus.
Yeah.
Because as he suffered, we too suffer, right? So we get to
Yeah.
experience like Jesus
Yeah.
in a very profound way.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And you normally don't think of suffering like that, right?
No.
You think of suffering, it's like, it's all just happening to me. Like, why is everything happening to me? And I know, it's really hard. Like, this is easier said than done, to kind of look at suffering in this way. But if you kind of think about it, how when you are taking up your own cross, you are sort of in parallel with Jesus.
Yeah, you're one with him for those moments,
Right.
right? And that's kind of, I don't know, I would hope some people find some kind of comfort or understanding in the why behind the suffering, if you really think about that. Father Matthew called it the kiss of, what is it?
The kiss of Jesus.
The kiss of Jesus.
Yeah, like, that's so beautiful.
I
Like,
know.
Those words like still resonate with me, which is why I remember it all these years later.
I
It's
know.
so cool.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful message, I think, and really thinking about like this idea of suffering.
Yeah. So I guess sort of our wrapping up statement then is, number one, don't just try and check the boxes, and really understand the why of what we do, and also understand that part of that process of getting into heaven and becoming one with Jesus does potentially involve some cross bearing, that we're going to have to take up our crosses, and then hopefully that if we put a different light on it, we can benefit more from those moments that in life kind of just seem like they're completely trying to tear us down. So yeah, hopefully we can take some good out of this.
Yeah, I think it was really fun to reflect on this one. A little two-folder.
Yeah.
On the messaging.
Well, 2 messages.
Yeah.
2 for 1.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. But we hope you take some time to reflect on those things. And thank you, as always, for joining us every week. And we look forward to reflecting with you next week.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm having a really hard time today. I'm gonna
Leave
cry.
it open. Just leave it open. There you go.
Okay, let's try again. I'm
Just
sorry.
leave the book open.
And how we can.
Leave the book open, babe.
Okay, got it. Okay, ready?